Hello everybody, this is John. Welcome to the NCGA Valent Ag Weather Outlook for March 4th, 2017. I thought I'd take a quick look at a review of February temperature and precipitation anomalies. I will be putting out a lot more detail on this probably later this week. But if we look at the total precipitation anomaly for February, you can see areas very dry and yellow and red. I'm particularly concerned about that area of unusually dry conditions from Kansas across Missouri into Illinois. But then look at the western U.S. We heard a lot about the drought relief or elimination over the western U.S. and much above normal precipitation over the west. Now, parts of the mid-Atlantic are also emerging as quite dry. You can see that area of red over parts of Virginia and parts of the Carolinas. So we've definitely had a month of some drier weather over larger parts of the U.S. that we've seen for a while. No doubt about it, temperatures were unusually mild over just about the entire nation. I think that's going to be the biggest weather story for February when the statistics come out. I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a record or near record warmth for that month. So if we look at precipitation over the last 30 days, the number of rain days, I think this shows you again the area of concern for dry weather over the central part of the U.S. You can see unusually dry weather pretty much from Texas right up across Oklahoma, parts of Kansas, Nebraska, and also that area of the southeast U.S. mid-Atlantic region. These are these shades of brown. Now the areas that have had the least number of rain days are the darker shades of brown. On the other hand, look at the areas in green and blue. Those are areas that have had a lot of rain days, and we're still running at 20 or more days over the western parts of Oregon and Washington state. Now, I show a lot of time the corn growing areas in drought. I just wanted to show you the corn growing areas of drought aren't impacted as much as the areas of cattle and hay. And I wanted to show you the area in red dashed line is indicating where we're experiencing drought. And then the darker shades of green are the areas of hay, primary hay growing areas. You can see we're getting up to 20% of hay growing areas are experiencing drought, and almost 20% of cattle inventory is in the area experiencing drought. So we're talking about drought a little bit more than we have in the past. We've had a couple of years of pretty nice conditions as far as adequate rainfall over the middle part of the nation, but that's beginning to change, and we need to keep a very close eye on that. Now, last week we did have quite a bit of severe weather. We had on the 28th and on the 1st, the last day of the month of February, first day of the month of March, certainly came in like a lion here with lots of severe weather, including long path tornadoes. This one right here was a very significant tornado around Perryville, Missouri. Lots of damage. Preliminary estimate of F3. Then, as far as precipitation goes, the last 7 days, primarily over the eastern half of the nation, east of the Mississippi River. Once we start seeing these streaks here, look at these streaks. This is quite different than we've seen for a long time. This is indicating a sign of spring, one of the signs of spring. These are thunderstorm tracks, and we get that. We're getting more convective precipitation than synoptic. That's that sign of spring. And we'll be seeing this battle here going back to more of a winter type pattern than definitely more spring. That's that transition, and we will be seeing that. Now, there still is some snow on the ground. Snow that is on the ground in March tends to melt fairly quickly, and we do have some snow over North Dakota, the upper tier of the Midwest, parts of the Great Lakes, then New England region. For the most part, this represents a fairly low flood threat, and I have to sort of put some caveats here that we always get some degree of spring flooding. So when I'm saying that from a snow belt standpoint, a snow on the ground, we have less than normal. We've melted a lot of that. We haven't gotten a lot this winter in many areas. So from that potential of snow melt, that has been reduced due to the lack of snow. Now, last week wasn't quite as mild as we've seen in the past. We had temperatures still above normal. We had some cooler air push in behind that front that triggered the severe weather, so temperatures still remained a bit above normal for the week, but they did cool down as we got into the second part of the week. Soil moisture here, again, pointing out these concerns with dry soils over the mid-Atlantic region. parts of the Midwest and scattered areas elsewhere. We still could use some additional precipitation over northern Alabama and northern Georgia, but the southern halves of those states are in a little bit better shape. Now, the recent rain and snow, we still have some soggy fields in this region. I think we're going to be okay here because I think it's going to have time to dry out, but there's certainly been a little bit of a problem here getting out for some early spring field work due to those wet fields. Now, rivers here, areas river shaded in red are currently below normal, areas in blue above normal. So the upper Mississippi, parts of the Ohio, we see some higher flows, tributaries into the Ohio, but this is pretty typical for spring. We have a couple spots, minor flooding. Those are the orange dots. One spot, it looks like some moderate flooding, but for the most part, very manageable. And this region here, it looks like it's going to get reduced precipitation, so that should be coming down over the next week or so. But we do have quite a few spots over the southeast still in the mid-Atlantic with below normal stream flow. These are these areas of shades of brown, particularly the darker brown and red. Even though there's been some rain over parts of the southeast U.S., we still are lagging as far as reservoir conditions and now stream flow over parts of northern Georgia, western parts of the Carolinas. Okay, so let's look at the forecast this week. What we have here is we have the jet stream pretty much from west to east, and we have a west-to-east jet stream. Not a whole lot of energy in that, so we wouldn't expect a whole lot of action over the U.S. From a general way we look at it here. But overall, the jet stream's a bit higher than normal, or further north than normal, I should say, and that's why we have that shade of brown. And temperatures averaging well above normal for the next 5 days, especially right smack over the middle part of the nation. Now, over the western U.S., a bit of lag of temperatures, and that region should be cooler than normal. But for the most part, it looks like a nice spring week over a pretty large part of the nation, especially the central U.S. Now, as far as precipitation goes, it looks like it's going to be quieter, at least from severe weather, compared to last week. We do have some enhanced precipitation here and there. Some needed rain perhaps over the southeast U.S., not enough, but still some needed rain. Not much over the areas that needed over the mid-Atlantic. And then again, another week of very heavy enhanced precipitation with that onshore flow. Remember that jet stream pushing very strongly in from the Pacific. That's going to enhance precipitation. But if you look at it, really a large part of the nation, really no significant precipitation, including areas that are very dry over the middle part of the nation. So now we're getting to the middle part of March. It didn't take long to get into the middle part of March. It seems like we just started here, and here we're looking at the middle part, and jet stream begins to sag south. And I've watched this pretty closely here because some of the models are showing that this area here in blue, a little bit deeper, but at least right now through the middle part of the March 6 through 10 days, we still stay very mild over a large part of the region. And that cold air doesn't start to sink yet. Now, if we get into the 11 to 15 day range, this is where it could be a little bit more interesting. It keeps on trying to sink. Now, the models all winter long have been overdoing the cold air, so keep that in mind. But right now, it does show that there could be middle part of March in the day 11 to 15, that cold air sinking in, so we could get sort of a frustrating cold spell especially over the upper Midwest, and perhaps even in parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes in that 11 to 15 day range. But like I said, I think I'm a little skeptical of it right now because models have been overdoing it throughout the winter. But I will say now, for a number of days now, the models have been showing this. So we could get, after a start of March this week, mild temperatures. We could be going into a colder period during the middle part of the month. So like I said, this week, fairly quiet as far as precipitation, and here's week 2. Sort of interesting. There's some signs that this area right in this region here could become fairly active the middle and latter part of March. Matter of fact, here's the 3rd and 4th week, and it shows still quite active for precipitation. So that could be an interesting area to watch. And then as we get into week 3 and 4 here, this will be interesting here. I think we might have a little bit of a flood risk in here because this could be in the form of rain, and at the same time we have that snow in that area. So rain over snow means a flood threat, but that's way out there. But that could be the latter part of March, something we need to watch. I also want to bring to your attention the elevated risk for fire weather for this is on looks like on the period of Sunday and into Monday, primarily on early this week on Monday, and that could be a fairly high risk for fire weather. Well, here are your takeaway points. We had a very busy week last week with severe weather in a number of spots, but the takeaway points as far as this week, it looks like it will be an unusually mild week and much quieter than last week. I think we'll get some rain and storms in spots and even a couple of strong storms, but the severe risk will be a lot less than we saw last week.